स्वामिनिति नामने नमः। ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय रामाय कुण्ठमेधसे उत्तमश्लोकदुर्याय न्यस्तदण्डार्पिताङ्घ्रये। So today will be the last session of our discussion on the cardinal teachings of Sri Valmiki Ramayana. And we will be looking at teaching number 14. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to cover 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and then we'll go over a little summary of all the teachings, just to recap. Okay, so we have discussed what the Valmiki Ramayana teaches us. Apart from other things, the Valmiki Ramayana is glorified for one particular characteristic. And what is that? Surrender. That it teaches the process of surrender. That the Valmiki Ramayana is nothing but an extensive exposition on the process of surrender. So, that is the main subject matter of these 18 cardinal teachings. So teaching number 14. One should pass his time in studying the Ramayana, for it explains the meaning of the Dvaya mantra. So this Dvaya mantra is the most important mantra of the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya. And as will be explained by Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu in this section, the meaning is non-different to the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra that we chant. So the Dvaya mantra is Sriman Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadye Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. So there's two mantras, the Dvaya mantra. There are two mantras. The first mantra is Sriman Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. And then the second mantra is Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Narayana, the husband of Shri, that grants shelter. I offer my obeisances unto Narayana, the husband of Shri. So the husband of Shri appears twice, and the first mantra specifically talks about surrender to the lotus feet and how that lotus feet offers. What does the lotus feet offer? Shelter. The lotus feet of the Supreme Lord offer shelter and protection. And so anyways, as we don't go wrong, he'll explain here. Okay, Sri Ramanujacharya has instructed that one should constantly contemplate on its meaning, contemplate on the meaning of this mantra. So, Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu comments, Shri is a name of Lakshmi. The Dvaya mantra is noted in the Padma Purana. The scriptural 32-syllabled mantra propagated by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. As explained by Srila Prabhupada and his predecessor Acharyas, is a prayer to the consort of Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna himself to engage the chanter of this mantra in their devotional service. Since, as Srila Prabhupada points out, this mantra can be chanted while remembering its meaning and while meditating on Krishna or Rama or any form of Vishnu with their respective consorts, this mantra fulfills the purpose of the Dvaya mantra. So, the point is that Ramanujacharya has specifically instructed his followers to contemplate upon the meaning. Kanchan, Srila Prabhupada fell down. So, contemplate on the meaning. And when we are chanting rounds, this is something that we are supposed to be doing. When we are chanting, and not just when we are chanting rounds, also at other times. The Hare Krishna Mahamantra is a prayer by the individual soul to the Supreme Lord to engage Him in their service. And that is the aim and goal of devotional service. The aim and goal of devotional service is not even just shelter. That after achieving shelter, the living entity wants to achieve the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord so that he can serve that lotus feet. It is not that he achieves that shelter so that he can continue his materialistic activities or may continue in some or seek some type of material benediction from the Supreme Lord or just protection from fear. These are not the motivations, or liberation itself. This is not the main motivation. The motivation is to engage in service of Krishna. And the service of the Supreme Lord is never independent of the presence of the consort of the Lord. The Lord's consort is the one who allows us to serve Him and who leads us in serving Him. That consort demonstrates and knows what is most pleasing to the Supreme Lord, and we actually, being of the same nature in the sense of being an energy, just like the consort of the Lord is an energy of Krishna, we are also energies of Krishna. And that energy of the consort, her energy is predominating. It is the living entities can be subject to either the influence of Yogamaya or Mahamaya. That is the internal potency of the Lord or the external illusory potency of the Lord. Right now in the material world, we are influenced by the external potency of the Lord. The external potency of the Lord is a manifestation of the internal potency. The internal potency expands herself into the external potency of the Lord. And we are tatastha, marginal energy, living entities who are in the marginal energy, and we are meant to take shelter of the Supreme Lord through the medium, through the agency, in the footsteps of the great devotees who are ultimately servants of that consort of the Supreme Lord. So, this is all these things are contemplation on the mantra. So as I said, the Dvaya mantra is two mantras, but what gets repeated in both the mantras is that the Lord is termed as the husband of Shri. This is a very, very important point to understand. We don't worship Krishna by himself. We worship Krishna with his consort. We don't worship the consort by herself either. Together, the energy and the energetic. And We always worship Radha Krishna, Sita Rama, Lakshmi Narayana, Lakshmi Nrsimha, or Nrsimha along with his devotee, Prahlad. Something like this, that there has to be the devotee present. But specifically, even if the devotee is present, the concept of the Supreme Lord carries special significance. And therefore, Prabhupada says, this mantra can be chanted while remembering its meaning and while meditating on Krishna or Rama or any other form of Vishnu. It's not that, nowadays, unfortunately, just, after reading this text, I'm starting to realize how much, at least the Sri Vaishnavas I know, don't seem to have a clue about these things. Nor are they instructed to contemplate on these kind of things. They chant it out of ritual. This is what we do because I am a Sri Vaishnava, so I chant. And Hare Krishna devotees can also chant like that. We can also chant the Hare Krishna mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But we don't contemplate. If you don't contemplate on its meaning, then the actual attitude of devotional service is not evoked. So, and Prabhupada is saying here that while meditating on Krishna or Rama or any form of Vishnu with their respective consorts, this mantra fulfills the purpose of the Dvaya mantra. So one has to contemplate, one has to think, one has to remember that when one is chanting Hare Krishna and when one is going about one's day, one should remember this position that we are praying to the Supreme Lord. Please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. O Krishna, O energy of Krishna, please engage me in your service. Prabhupada gave it very simple. So that's the same thing that you find. And, our emphasis is, okay, the Dvaya mantra, it comes twice, right? Krishna with the Supreme Lord. And the Hare Krishna mantra, if you were to take that, so there, Srimate Rama Narayanaya, and then Sriman Narayana is referred, these are the words that refer to, O Narayana, husband of Shri, of Lakshmi Devi. If you see the Hare Krishna mantra, you have Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then you have Hare Rama, Hare Rama. It comes 4 times if you were to just take that. But apart from that also, Hare is mentioned so many times in the Hare Krishna mantra. 8 times. Krishna is mentioned 4 times, Rama is mentioned 4 times. But Hare, the energy of the Supreme Lord, is addressed 8 times in the Hare Krishna mantra. She is addressed more than any of the forms of the Supreme Lord. Of course, Rama and Krishna are non-different, so in that sense they are being addressed equally. 8 times the Supreme Lord, 8 times the consort. But the fact that the consort is being addressed equally, or if you take it Krishna separately, Rama separately, then the consort of the Supreme Lord is being addressed 8 times, it just shows some significance here. At least it's equal. So it's very important to understand that we worship Radha and Krishna. And we don't worship Krishna separately, we don't worship Radha separately. We worship Radha and Krishna. That's the main thing. Canto 1 of the Ramayana states the meaning of the husband of Shri. Canto 2 states the meaning of Narayana because it contains a description of Rama's auspicious qualities. Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu comments, one of the meanings of the name Narayana is the shelter of all auspicious qualities. Canto 3 states the meaning of the lotus feet by describing the beauty of the divine and auspicious body of Lord Rama as seen by the residents of Dandaka Aranya. As described in Canto 2 of Srimad Bhagavatam, meditation on the beautiful spiritual form of the Lord begins with meditation on his lotus feet. So when describing the beauty of the Supreme Lord, the feet is described first. The description, the feet is given that importance. We read cantos of the Bhagavatam. The first 2 cantos are the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Each one said to be 1 foot each. Canto 1, Canto 2. Cantos 4 and 5 state the meaning of that grand shelter. Canto 6 states the meaning of I surrender. the meaning of I offer my obeisances unto Narayana, the husband of Sri, is stated in Canto 7 that describes the result, liberation, in the form of uninterrupted and unmotivated devotional service unto him. In other words, while studying the Ramayana, we should remember our relationship with the Lord as our eternal master, ourselves as his eternal servants, the ultimate desirable goal as attainment of uninterrupted and unmotivated devotional service to his lotus feet at all times, places, and situations, and the means to attaining that as full-fledged surrender unto him. So, the second mantra of the Dvaya mantra, which is Srimate Narayanaya Namaha, refers to offering obeisances. Namaha, meaning one glorifies the Supreme Lord. Namaha means it's offering respects, offering obeisances. And Namaha is always found in glorification of the Supreme Lord, this word Namaha. And means Namanti, it means to offer one's respects. And that is stated to be the liberation, that you are asking shelter of the Supreme Lord. The first mantra, Shrima Narayana Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So I take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who is the husband of the goddess of fortune. How do I take shelter of him? No, that's okay.
Through the concept.
Mm-hmm. Here. Through surrender. I surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and that is how I will obtain his shelter. I will not obtain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, who is the consort of Lakshmi. I will not obtain the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, that shelter which relieves one from all material anxieties and awards one protection and the fulfillment of all desires. This is attained only through the process of surrender. And then the second mantra, Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. Okay, I've attained that shelter. I've attained all of this. Then what? I just sleep? No. Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. Now I will serve the Lord along with his consort. So, this is the process of surrender, and this is why we surrender to the Supreme Lord, to serve him. Text, this is teaching, section number 15, that is teaching number 15. In order to point out that such a person eligible to surrender to the Lord in the above mentioned manner is meant to recite the Ramayana regularly, like the Gayatri, the meaning of the Gayatri is set out here in the Ramayana. Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu comments, the Ramayana consists of 24,000 verses. How many verses are there in the Bhagavatam? 18,000. The Ramayana is bigger than that. 24,000 verses is found in the Ramayana. And every 1,000th verse contains a syllable of the Gayatri mantra. This itself indicates that this scripture is an explanation of the Gayatri mantra, just like Srimad Bhagavatam, which is directly proclaimed in scripture to be a commentary on the Gayatri mantra. So, the Brahma Gayatri, when we generally say Gayatri, that refers to the Brahma Gayatri mantra. The Brahma Gayatri mantra, without the bija, is Tatsavitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Nah Prachodayat. Okay, so Canto 1 of Ramayana states the meaning of Tatsavituhu, since it describes the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the cause of the creation of the universe, a fact well known in the Vedas. Cantos 2 and 4 state the meaning of Varenyam, since they describe many of the auspicious quality features of the Lord. Canto 3 states the meaning of Bhargaha, since it describes his body filled with effulgence and prowess. Canto 5 states the meaning of Devasya, since it describes his divine auspicious body. Canto 6 states the meaning of Dhimahi. Canto 7 states the meaning of the third portion of the Gayatri mantra because it describes the result of liberation as mentioned above. The third portion of the Gayatri mantra is Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Right? So, this prachodayat actually means offering of obeisance. It's offering, it is a method of offering respect. So, what is the result of liberation? As mentioned above, we just decided. Exclusive, unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. So, the Brahma Gayatri Mantra is not, as what many followers of the Vedas think, is a prayer to the sun god. It is not a prayer to the sun god. It is a prayer to the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. It is a very principal mantra found in the Vedas, which is chanted to indicate that the Supreme Lord is the source of all existence. He is brilliant, He is effulgent, He is transcendental. And it is He who is to be worshipped, and it is He whose shelter has to be sought. And ultimately, it is in Him that we seek refuge and desire to attain His abode in order to render unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service unto Him. So the Ramayana states this. In every 1000th verse there is a syllable of the Gayatri Mantra, and there are 24,000 verses, so 24 syllables in the Gayatri Mantra. And that in that way, what does this mean? In that way, by reciting the Ramayana, those who are not traditionally qualified to chant the Gayatri Mantra, right? By reading the Ramayana, by reciting the Ramayana, those who are not traditionally qualified to chant the Brahma Gayatri, Stri Shudra Dvijabandhuna, that the Shudras, those who are friends, means they were born in higher caste but don't have the qualities of the higher caste, and women and children, everyone can get the benefit of chanting the Gayatri Mantra by reading and reciting the Ramayana, because it is found in it. And the Ramayana is itihasa. It can be read by anybody. There is no restriction, and the benefit is achieved. Not only is the benefit of chanting the mantra achieved, the benefit of meditating on the meaning of the mantra is also achieved. Because ultimately, the Gayatri Mantra is meant to meditate upon the quality, forms, and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is achieved by reading the Ramayana. So this is how wonderful the Ramayana is. Okay, section 16. Such a person, eligible to surrender unto the Lord in the above mentioned manner, should not even touch the writings of deviant philosophies such as Charvaka, hedonism, Buddhistic nihilism, and so on. This can be concluded by Lord Rama's rejection of the ideas presented by Jabali and Lakshmana, and so on. So, Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu comments, includes various misrepresentations of the conclusions of Vedic scriptures such as Mayavad or Kevala Advaitavad, popularly known as Advaitavad, of Adi Shankara and his followers, and much of what goes on in the name of Hinduism today. In Canto 2 of the Ramayana, Jabali speaks the ideology of Charvaka hedonism, to convince Rama to return to Ayodhya from the forest. Rama rejects it. Lakshmana too at times speaks various ideas to convince Lord Rama to do something or to permit him to do something, and Ramachandra rationally rejects ideas contrary to scriptural conclusions. So this is another thing that at least Sri Vaishnavas I know don't talk about these things. They don't say that you should not, learn about Buddhistic nihilism, Charvaka hedonism, or Shankara, Adi Shankara's Mayavad philosophy. In fact, before I came to Krishna consciousness, I would attend discourses by Sri Vaishnavas, and they were very nice on about Tirupavai or Andal's songs, and how they would be very descriptive of the Lord and describe devotional service. They were very sweet to hear. But they would never tell you that you're not supposed to look at it. It said should not even touch the writings. Forget about reading it. You don't even touch it. This comes in line with once, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj said, what do you do with all these nonsense books, so-called spiritual books that propound all kinds of conclusions that are contrary to the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam? What do you do with it? You burn it. You burn them, because no, you don't donate them. I'll just give it to somebody. That's the worst thing you can do. You don't give it to somebody else. So, you burn it. Well, how do you engage them in divorce? They publish this, nonsense. How do you engage them in devotional service? Well, somehow you try to make chapatis from it. And then offer those chapatis to Krishna. Because there's some heat that comes out of that. And so you can make chapatis and you can offer it to Krishna, and then those Mayavadis and all these people who wrote all this nonsense, they'll get some benefit by performing some devotional service. So, we should not even touch the teachings of deviant philosophies. And so in that regard, this Jabali's, he speaks. Why does he do this? Because Bharata wants to, in the Ayodhya Kanda, in the end of the Ayodhya Kanda, Bharata is trying to convince Rama to return back to the kingdom. And so Bharata has come from Ayodhya with the entire army, all the ministers, all the priests, all the sages, and the three queens of Dasharatha. He's brought them all to the forest where Rama is staying. And there he is trying to convince Rama. Rama is saying, no, I will not accept the throne. I've been exiled. My father has ordered me to be exiled. You, Bharata, you accept the throne. You become the king. So Bharata is, and everybody is trying to convince Rama. So Jabali is doing his bit. Jabali is one of the principal priests at the court of Dasharatha. Now the great Rishi Jabali began to speak. With the hope of inspiring within Rama some desire to enjoy royal opulence and sense gratification, thus causing him to return to Ayodhya, Jabali expounded the following atheistic philosophy. O prince, the living being is nothing more than the resultant combination of sperm and ovum. The father is the efficient cause of the living being, and the mother is the material cause. But in reality, the only cause of creation is the chance interaction of atomic particles. Wow. When a person dies, he at once becomes nothing more than dust. Thus, everything is only a combination of atoms and nothing more. What we call mother, father, son, or daughter has no actual relationship with us. Rama, why should you undergo suffering just for the sake of your so-called father? What is the use of performing funeral ceremonies? Can the dead eat your offerings? Only what we can directly perceive is all in all. Therefore, my dear Rama, you should enjoy that which is pleasing to the senses by accepting the kingdom from Bharata. Hearing this diatribe, Rama angrily replies, your views are impiety in the garb of piety. Thus, they are the most dangerous. In the name of wisdom, you are preaching the grossest ignorance. Real knowledge leads to self-realization, whereas one who lives only for the pleasure of the senses becomes a slave to uncontrolled lust and greed. Truth is the highest principle of virtue. Thus, I will adhere to the order of my father without being swayed by the aspiration for personal sense gratification. This earth is the field of action. When one attains the rarely achieved human birth, he should only perform pious activities. My father made a mistake by keeping you as a minister because your views are atheistic. A non-believer like yourself is so condemned that the Vedas prohibit one from even seeing his face. Jabali then admitted, in truth, I am a follower of the Vedas. I have firm faith in the existence of God. I was only speaking from that viewpoint in hope of persuading you to return to Ayodhya. At that, Vasishta intervened since Rama had become highly agitated by Jabali's speech. Jabali spoke like an atheist only because he knew how much everyone wants you to return to Ayodhya to sit on the throne. In the dynasty of Ikshvaku, every great ruler of the past selected their eldest son to inherit the kingdom. The unbroken rule has been that for as long as the elder brother is alive, the younger brother cannot accept the throne. Therefore, we again implore you to return to Ayodhya. Then, regarding Lakshmana, so let's see. Okay. This is Lakshmana recognizing that Bharata and his army are approaching. Right? So, at just this time, Rama noticed the dust being raised by Bharata's army coming in the far distance. Soon Rama could hear the noises of wild animals that were fleeing in fear. At this, Rama turned to Lakshmana and said, "Whatever is raising the dust is frightening the forest animals. Find out at once what is causing this disturbance." Lakshmana then climbed a tall tree, and from there he could see the large army approaching. With great urgency, he called down to Rama, "Put out the fire immediately. A great army is approaching. Hide Sita within a cave and gather our weapons. We must prepare to meet them." So, put out the fire immediately, meaning that there is a small fire outside the cottage, the hermitage. And that fire sends a plume of smoke straight up. So, an army at a distance can see that smoke and move in that direction towards that hermitage. And so, Lakshmana wanted to put out that fire so that the army loses direction of where to go. Rama then called back to his brother, "Look out to see their chariot flags so we may know whose army is coming." So in the past, the chariots would carry the flags and the emblem of the particular kingdom. Each kingdom had its emblem. And that emblem would be on the flag of the chariot, and kings would then know, okay, this chariot, this particular person belongs to that kingdom. This army belongs to that kingdom. By the insignias, Lakshmana recognized that it was his brother's army and shouted to Rama, "It is Bharata. He must be coming to kill us so he can be assured of enjoying unrivaled sovereignty." Indeed, they approach with great enthusiasm. We must make ready immediately, taking our bows to fight them from the top of the hill. I think this is our good fortune, for we can fight with the person who has caused our misfortune and suffering. We should not hesitate to kill Bharata outright. Afterwards, I shall take pleasure in killing Kaikeyi and all her relatives, just to purge the earth of the sins she has committed. Checking the enraged Lakshmana, Rama said, "Bharata is coming here in great eagerness to see me. What is then the necessity of bows and arrows? My opinion is that Bharata has come to offer me the kingdom. However, if you wish to kill Bharata so you may enjoy the royal throne yourself, then say so, and I will tell Bharata to hand it over peacefully." Thus admonished by Rama, Lakshmana hung his head in shame, saying that I was hoping our father has come to see us. However, since his familiar elephant is visible, though bereft of its usual white umbrella, I do not think he has. So this is Rama and Lakshmana speaking before the arrival of Bharata. They are unaware that Dasharatha has already gone back home, back to Godhead. He has already left his body. But this is an example of Rama, admonishing Lakshmana and rejecting his views. Govindaraja makes the point that just like Rama rejected Lakshmana's opinions, which were contrary to the scriptural conclusions, contrary to that which is favorable to devotional service. Similarly, a devotee also should reject that. And just like Lord Rama rejected Jabali so vehemently, he told Jabali, who's a minister, he's a rishi, practically on the level of guru. Because he's a Brahmana and he's a minister of the king. So, not just his minister, but the minister of his father. And to such a person, Lord Rama says, we should not even be looking at your face. We should not even look at your face. Because he spoke this hedonistic nonsense, atheism. So that's how much a devotee should be averse to Mayavad, to atheism, to Buddhism, nihilism, and things like that. What is that? Bhakti Vikas Maharaj gave a lecture. Hate Mayavad, love Krishna. So one has to hate Mayavad to love Krishna. It doesn't mean that we wish ill upon the followers of Maya, of those who are of the followers of Mayavada philosophy. But we don't like the philosophy. We don't wish ill upon anyone. But it is the philosophy that they carry that we are upset with. So this is an important point to understand. Okay. Penultimate teaching, number 17. Even great souls encounter calamities. Therefore, one should develop the desire to get out of material existence. Vidwan Gauranga Prabhu comments, in this material world there are classifications of people. But after all, this world is not a happy place for anyone. This world is declared by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be temporary and full of miseries. Arjuna was born in a saintly royal family. To him also the Lord says, take to my devotional service and come quickly back to Godhead, back home. No one should remain in this temporary world, full as it is with miseries. Everyone should attach himself to the bosom of the Supreme Personality of Godhead so that he can be eternally happy. So, we want to go back home, back to Godhead. Today's people, I was hearing this seminar, Sureshwar Prabhu, the founder Acharya, specifically on Varnashram. And there, Sureshwar Prabhu is making the point that nowadays people think that to be progressive, to be forward thinking, to think of the future is advancement and is great. And to think of anything in the past, to think of history is backwards. It's backwards. Why are you following people of the past? You're going backwards. You're going backwards. But we need to teach people that actually backwards is progress. That people in the past, especially during Vedic times, when people followed the instructions of the Vedas, they were actually more advanced than us. We are currently living like animals. But those who lived in the past, who lived in harmony with not just God, not just the instructions of God, not just the instructions of Krishna that are found in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, but also in harmony with nature and in harmony with each other and in harmony with all living creatures in the least harmful way. This is advancement. That is progress. That is true civilization. So, we are so much in favor of this backwardness, looking backward, that we want to go back home, back to Godhead. Ultimately, we want to go completely back home, back to Godhead. That's our real progress. Not moving forward straight to hell. We need to go back home, back to Godhead, where we actually came from. And Prabhupada is making that point. And a devotee should desire that. A devotee should desire that. This is not in contradiction to the principle of Mama Janmani Janmani Ishware Bhavatat Bhakti Rahaitu Ki Tvai, that life after life, I want to engage in your exclusive transcendental devotional service, to serving the spiritual master and guru. It is not independent of that. Ultimately, a devotee desires both. He understands that the Supreme Lord is calling him back home, back to Godhead. And therefore, even Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada expressed a desire in his song, Markine Bhagavata Dharma. When will that day come when I will roll and frolic in the pasture grounds of Vrindavan? These are actual desires that are expressed by our Acharyas. So both are there, but especially in our neophyte stage, before we go all to such an esoteric level without any realization. In our neophyte stage, it is very important to understand that this material world is full of danger, and that even great souls. So, here, in order to help the reader accumulate the prosperity of renunciation and detachment, the Ramayana explicitly describes Rama and Lakshmana being bound by Indrajit's Nagapasha noose, Hanuman being bound by the Brahmastra weapon, the kidnapping of Citta, Rama's loss of his kingdom just before he is to be coronated as Dasharatha's heir apparent, and so on. The details will be shown in their proper places. This is merely indicative, as there are several other such incidents. So even great personalities, Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha, that Rama is the very emblem of Dharma. He is the very personification of Dharma. And even to him, life was not picture perfect. It is transcendentally perfect, but not the perfection that materialists desire, that they want in this material world, they want to live without any problems. That won't happen. Because this material world is such that even Rama, Sita, Hanuman, Lakshman, Bharata, other great personalities had to go through difficulty. And we also should expect that we will go through difficulty in life. And how do we perceive that difficulty? As an impetus to ultimately get out of this miserable material world. Because in this material world, it's painful. It's painful to see living entities being envious of Krishna. It is painful. It is definitely a relief when one goes back home, back to Godhead, to be in the association of all these different personalities who are not envious. And even among those great living entities who are fully liberated, who are pure devotees, who come to the material world to execute the order of the Supreme Lord, they aren't as many of them as they are in the spiritual world. The spiritual world by nature contains more living entities than in the material world. So the spiritual world is 3 times as bigger than the material world and is also unlimited, whereas the material world is limited. So there is 3 times more unlimitedly amount of spirit souls in the spiritual world. Okay, I hope you made sense of that. Forget the English. But, so, among them, we know few personalities who appear in this material world again and again as servants of the Supreme Lord to deliver them. They are extremely exalted devotees of the Supreme Lord, such as our Srila Prabhupada and his great glorious spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or other associates of Lord Chaitanya, such as Rupa Goswami. But can we imagine how many servants of the Supreme Lord are there in the spiritual world? And they are all wonderful, pure devotees? And how greatly powerful they are? And how many wonderful qualities they have? That I'm just making the point that it is not such an easy thing to come to the material world and serve the Supreme Lord life after life. It is not such an easy thing. We actually don't have any realization of that. It is not something that we can just say, not that we should be against that principle. We should not. It is found in the Sikshashtakam. We must imbibe that quality. But we should also understand that primarily in our situation, we have to develop, as it is stated here, renunciation and detachment. And the desire to want to serve the Supreme Lord in the association of the pure devotees. So this is an important point to understand, just so that we get a little real about the nature of this material world and how most of the living entities in the spiritual world don't want to have anything to do with this place. They don't want to come here. So, final teaching, section 18. For common purposes, information regarding the 64 arts have been summarily presented in the Ramayana on the logic of yad ihasti tad anyatra yan nehasti na tat kvachit. that which is here is elsewhere. That which is not here is not elsewhere. Meaning the Ramayana contains everything that is found in the Vedas. It contains everything. That which is here is found elsewhere. What you find here, you will find in other places, meaning in the other Vedas. But what is not found here, you will not find anywhere else. Meaning that Veda means knowledge. All knowledge is contained in the Ramayana. The teachings of the Vedas and their ancillary disciplines, the Vedangas, are indicated in the Ramayana. While glorifying Hanuman's words, information regarding Shiksha or proper pronunciation and Vyakarana or Sanskrit grammar is found in Canto 4, Chapter 3. Sections describing the Ashwamedha sacrifice and so on contain information concerning the performance of such sacrifices as found in the Kalpa Sutras. In the same way, information relating to all of the other Vedangas can be found by a reader of subtle intelligence. Since the Ramayana is practically an encyclopedia of Vedic culture, it is not surprising that it also contains references to the Vedangas. These are the 18 cardinal teachings of the Ramayana that we have learned from our spiritual master. Firstly, the sage Valmiki sets the scene to reveal the surrender of the demigods unto Lord Narayana, desiring the result of having Ravana killed till Dasharatha's Ashwamedha sacrifice. Then, the sage describes the attainment of that result from the incident of the appearance of the person who appears from the sacred fire to give Dasharatha payasa, sweet rice, for his wives, until the incident describing the death of Ravana. Then in Canto 7, the sages describe the purpose of Rama's descent to establish dharma and to grant liberation to all who surrendered unto him seeking it. Other teachings are noted in their appropriate context within this commentary, within the commentary. So, that's pretty understandable. Everything is found in the Ramayana, such as Vyakarana, proper pronunciation, performance of different sacrifices, etc., etc., etc. A lot of information can be found. Simple things: how does a husband deal with his wife? How does a wife deal with her husband? How do children respect the parents? How do servants respect the master? Who is a real master? What are the duties of men? What are the duties of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra? Politics is found, diplomacy is found, art of warfare is found, economics is found. So many things are found. Poetry, culture, music, everything is found in the Ramayana. So, in this way, the Ramayana gives us everything. It's a wonderful book. So, quickly summarizing all the 18 teachings. What is the first one? That Krishna, Rama, Vishnu, Narayana is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the creator of the entire world, all the universes, and the master of all the living entities, and the only one who can actually provide shelter to the living entities, the conditioned living entities and the liberated living entities alike, and who is the consort of Shri, the goddess of fortune. What is teaching number 2? That particular Supreme Personality of Godhead is achieved through the process of surrender. Okay. There's a lot of subtopics that we saw in the second teaching. The third teaching, what is the result of such surrender? The result of such surrender is unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service to the Supreme Lord, the fulfillment of one's desires, protection from danger, relief from all fear are all side effects. And liberation is also side effect of surrender. Okay? So, and then teaching number 4, that the surrender of the Supreme Lord is not possible without the help of the mediator, the consort of the Supreme Lord, who acts as the mediator. And teaching number 5, correct. The nature of one who is surrendered should be that of servitude. Servitude. That one should have an attitude of servitude. And who exhibits that attitude of servitude? Lakshmana. So, then teaching number 6 is they should also have an attitude of dependency. They should be dependent on the Lord. They should feel exclusively dependent on the Lord for survival, for everything. And that is exhibited in the personality of Bharata. Okay? Teaching number 7. That one has to be the servant. That the attitude of a surrendered soul is that one has to be the servant of the Supreme Lord. Servant of the Supreme Lord. One has to engage in Vaishnav Seva and Vaishnav association. This is extremely important in devotional service, to gain devotee association. That is another characteristic of one who is surrendered. Okay. Then, teaching number 8 is the Arthapanchaka. That there are the 5 teachings that a person who is surrendered should know. Vishnu is Supreme Personality of Godhead, of course.
Jiva is devotee.
Correct. The living entity is his devotee. The means is devotional service, surrender. The result, correct. The result is to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And finally, one should also remember that which is obstructing one's devotional service and should become free of that which is obstructing. So this is Artha Panchaka. A surrendered soul should know these things. Supreme Personality of Godhead is the one who is to be worshipped and one should seek shelter of him. 2. Living entity is the servant of the Supreme Lord. 3. Because living entity is servant of the Supreme Lord and Supreme Lord is the master, living entity has to perform Sharanagati, devotional service, surrender unto the Supreme Lord. 4. The result of performing the purpose and result of performing such surrendered service is to perform unmotivated, uninterrupted devotional service unto the Supreme Lord. 5. A devotee should remember everything and reject and avoid everything that is preventing him from achieving that surrender, and one should get rid of anarthas that obstruct this process. Okay? All right. Teaching number 9. Teaching number 9 is that one should not take shelter of those who are not capable of providing shelter to the Supreme Lord. And examples of those are demigods, father, mother, the demigods, and no government. Okay? He said government. Then brothers. Okay? So 4 people. You don't surrender unto demigods, father, mother, and brothers, relatives, friends, etc. You don't surrender unto these personalities because they cannot protect one. And different examples are given. Okay. Then teaching number 10. In order to achieve surrender, one has to obtain the shelter of the bona fide Acharya. One has to obtain the shelter of the spiritual master. And the example of that is Hanuman, Sri Hanuman. Okay. Text number 11. I'm saying text. Teaching number 11. A person who is eligible to surrender should perform devotional service when?
All the time.
All the time. Until when?
All the time.
All the time.
Sometime all the time.
Means, okay, he has to surrender and he has to perform devotional service all the time. But then, what about the result of such devotional service? He wants to obtain the shelter of the Lord. He wants to attain the lotus feet of the Lord. So, in the meantime, when there are problems, obstacles, what should be his attitude?
You gotta just keep doing it.
You have to stick it out. You have to stick it out. Tattena kampam susamikshamano bhunjane eva atma kritam vipakam hidvag vabhuvir vidadan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. That one should tolerate the difficulties of material existence while patiently awaiting the mercy of the Supreme Lord and also patiently awaiting the time of death. That one should be prepared to meet death. Today we received the wonderful news of His Grace Pankajanabha Prabhu, who went back home, back to Godhead. Pankajanabha Prabhu, you know Pankajanabha? You don't know.
He's a hype man, you know.
So Pankajanabha Prabhu is where did he join? Chicago?
New York.
New York. Okay.
Henry Street, Brooklyn.
So, Pankajanabha Prabhu is a black body devotee from New York who joined the movement there.
He has Spanish in him.
And yeah, he does.
He has Spanish.
And he's a great cook, fantastic cook. We met him when we visited Prabhupada village back in the middle of the pandemic in 2020. Pankajanabha Prabhu loved us, loved cooking for us, and loved leaving a lot of things in the kitchen for us to clean up. And we liked it. We were fond of it. It was very nice to be in his association. It was just happy to feel that we were giving some enthusiasm and happiness to Prabhu. And Prabhu's main dream, and he always was saying that he had not just asthma. He had bronchitis, a severe case of bronchitis, and some kind of lung. His lungs are very weak, and this and that, and everybody was very concerned if he would pass away due to COVID. But he caught COVID and recovered from it also. And so he was just trying to get his body fit enough to somehow be able to go to Vrindavan. He wanted to somehow go to Vrindavan and leave his body there. And this way, that way, he was hoping, and everybody was afraid because some days he would not even come out of his room, even when we were there. He seemed pretty sick, and we were like, how is he going to make it to Vrindavan? But not only did he make it to Vrindavan, he spent about 2 years almost in Vrindavan. And this morning we received news that he attained the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord in his eternal abode Vrindavan.
That's right.
From the manifest abode of the Supreme Lord Vrindavan on this planet. And the last thing he chanted was Krishna, Krishna, Krishna while he left the body. It's really inspiring to hear of examples like this, because that's, from the herd in New York to all the way to Vaikuntha, to beyond Vaikuntha, to Goloka Vrindavan. That's quite a journey.
That's what I'm talking
And quite an achievement.
He did it.
It's such a happy news that, so and for that one should have this determination as stated in this teaching, and one should patiently await the mercy of the Supreme Lord, just like Citta Devi waited in Lanka, tolerating the torments of Ravana, who is compared to the egoistic sense of I and mind. And Indrajit, Ravana's sons, like Indrajit, are compared to the powerful mind and senses. And Lanka described as the body, Jiva, Citta Devi described as the conditioned living entity, Hanuman described as the eternal spiritual master who comes and gives hope to the conditioned living entity and gives him the inspiration to take up to the process of devotional service and surrender. And Vibhishana, being that intelligence, rejecting Ravana's approaches, and ultimately Lord Rama himself rescuing the conditioned living entity from the burning city of Lanka, like Rama rescued Sita, and taking him back home, back to Godhead, like Rama took Sita back to the eternal abode of Ayodhya. So, text teaching number 12. That one should stay in, that the body of a person, of the Supreme Lord, the living entity should engage his body in performing devotional service to the Supreme Lord, not like those servants of Lord Rama, not like Ravana, who engaged his body in sense gratification. The next teaching teaches us that one should stay in a place where the Supreme Lord is personally present in the form of his deity, or in one of the abodes of the Supreme Lord, such as Vrindavan, Mayapur, etc. And in that way, one is guaranteed to go back home, back to Godhead, just like the residents of Koshala. And then 14, which we saw today, is the Dvaya Mantra. One should meditate on the meaning, for us specifically, the meaning of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then we saw that how the Ramayana itself is reciting the Ramayana is equivalent to reciting the Gayatri Mantra, and the Gayatri Mantra ultimately glorifies the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By reading and reciting the Ramayana, one gains the benefit of chanting the Gayatri Mantra and meditating upon the meaning of the Gayatri Mantra, which ultimately glorifies that beautiful, effulgent, transcendental Supreme Personality of Godhead. And teaching 16 is that one should reject all kinds of atheistic philosophies, Mayavad, etc., and also mentalities and practices that are, and bogus Hinduism that are against the principles of devotional service and the conclusions of the scriptures. And text number 17, teaching number 17. What is teaching number 17? No. That even great souls experience calamities, and therefore one should have a desire to go back home, back to Godhead, develop detachment and renunciation from this world and sense gratification. And finally, the 18th teaching of the Ramayana describes that the Ramayana itself is the conclusion of the Vedas. It is the encyclopedia of the Vedas. It contains everything that is found in the Vedas, and therefore just by reading the Ramayana, one gains all Vedic knowledge within just 24,000 verses. Hare Krishna. Shri Valmiki Ramayan ki jai. So with that, the cardinal teachings of the Ramayana come to an end. Thank you very much for patiently listening to this, and may we all imbibe these 18 teachings and become sincere followers of Srila Prabhupada, faithful servants of our spiritual master, and ultimately pure devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, and his divine consort, Srimati Radharani. Okay. Any questions or comments?
Well, talking about Pankaj Nava Prabhu, he's such a fantastic cook. And I remember all the stories he told us about how they used to cook in Henry Street.
It was ecstatic.
So many of them. But, I was, being with him, I just got like this, it just blew my mind. Because, when you perform devotional service, you always look at devotional service from your point of view, like your service, you look at it like prasadam is there, all I have to eat, so we can go and distribute books, that's like the whole bhav usually. But when I met him, I just completely, there's every devotee has such a unique realization. And he was, one day he was just sitting and telling me, Prabhu, you won't believe it. And he had this amazing accent. I just never understood.
Yeah, it's really good.
Where it's from. It was real, and because he was
ecstatic
funny,
accent, yeah.
Because he was funny, added to this humor too.
Yeah.
And then he said I was just reading Mahabharata, and then he was just speaking about how all these people came for Maharaj Yudhishthir's Rajasuya Yagya, and all this and all that, and how the food that was the prasadam that was being served out was so good that you couldn't even hear people talk, that people were constantly eating and they would constantly keep serving people again and again.
Oh, because they didn't have time to talk. They were just
It
putting
was
every
so good.
They were just
It was
trying
so
to eat as
tasty.
much as they could.
And I was thinking, wow, that's amazing.
That's
I was
amazing.
Thinking, I was thinking like, as like, as someone who's aspiring to be a Sanket, and you're like, yo, bro, I would be like taking that down. Like, and I was, thinking like that, And but then, what he said was really amazing was, Prabhu, imagine cooking like that, Prabhu. And then, he started like, I was saying, I would have never thought of that. Like, like think of cooking. I think, why would I ever think of that? But he's like, imagine
You didn't
cooking.
know how to cook.
Yeah, I mean, definitely didn't. I do know now a little bit. I got this, Nick. Thank you. So, so like, he was saying as to how, like, they must have had these big tents outside in the open. And Prabhu, just imagine the pots, Prabhu. And just imagine the cut up, Prabhu. And like, he's like telling me like all these things. And I was thinking, whoa, what? I would have, it's amazing. But like, he had like this such an amazing, like, and like, all that. He's like, yes, Prabhu, so we want to cook. So you can distribute books, Prabhu. And like, and that was like, and he had the right mood that, okay, we are cooking so the books can go out.
He always amazed me with that, that attitude of just wanting to serve the devotees, serve the devotees. He was so unwell, and he would force himself into the kitchen,
and them
wanting to cook for us. He's like, this is what I've been waiting for. What is the use of my body if I cannot cook for you all? And we were not even going out on Sankirtan those days.
We were distributing books.
Lockdown.
Hey, whoa, look.
Online. And he was like, no, you're all Sankirtan. How much do you distribute it? And he would always ask about how things were in New York and how we were doing, what Harinam, and how was the book distribution. And he would just relish that, hearing that. And even though he had so many bodily ailments, he was always happy. He was always blissful.
He was blissful.
He had so many problems. He had a lot to complain about. And sometimes, at least before we arrived, there's just all older devotees who cooks. They were always, who's going to cook. And sometimes he's half sick, he has to cook, and he has to cook for others, and he has to cook for himself also. It's, it's tough. And, but, he never complained like that. He was just so like, and, we were all anti-COVID, and, we stopped coming to the temple, this whole drama. And he was one of the people who was really upset with that. What's the use of staying in this temple? The Sankirtan devotees are not able to come to the temple because it's some COVID, And he's one of the people who's actually in great risk of that because he had this weak lungs and all that kind of stuff. He's like, this is better just be with the Sankirtan devotees and die, Prabhu. It's like, I remember that.
Was his bhav, for real.
He was like that. Just be with the Sankirtan devotees and just die. It's like,
hey, look.
And it was just ecstatic, yeah.
He was saying that, Prabhu, these people, and like, when I'm up at night, I hear them, they're shooting. They love to kill, Prabhu. They love to kill. If anyone comes, Prabhu, I have a gun. I have a gun. Do you want to see it? I'm like, I'm good, man. I don't want to.
Those fresh from New York. We didn't know about guns. Guns. You're from,
You're from the north. Guns freak you out.
Well, not just the north. I mean, New York City of all places,
I was from. No, I'm from the south.
Yeah. So, okay. All right.
So
anything
I had
else?
a question in regards to what does Dhimahi mean? So, like in Canto, it says in Canto 6, Dhimahi is explained, right? So, what is it?
Yeah, one thing is I've read that Dhimahi generally means that one is trying to imbibe the qualities, and it's another form of glorification, but one by meditating upon the qualities, one is trying to imbibe those qualities. It comes in all the Gayatri mantras, this word Dhimahi. It's there, like even in the Guru Gayatri, Gaura Gayatri, yes, Kama Gayatri, right. It's all there. And one seems to gain some attachment to those qualities through the syllable Dhimahi. This is what I've vaguely understood. I don't have an exact explanation. So,
see, from what I've Dhimahi, let me meditate upon.
Yeah, so it's in-
This right. That's what I thought. Like there's like some something.
I don't know. I didn't. I because I haven't read the full book, and so I
Ah.
don't. And Prabhu has not even commented on that canto
I
yet.
see. Because like
It's a question for Vidwan Gauranga
I
Prabhu.
thought it's to imbibe the qualities of.
That's what I said.
Right. I'm just saying. And so I had another question this again. The Dvitiya mantra, Dvaya mantra, Sriman Narayana Charano Sharanam Prapadye Srimate Narayanaya Namaha. Right? And, but, from what I've seen and heard of the Sri Vaishnavas, they always chant Om Namo Narayanaya, Sriman Narayana Charana. So, like, why isn't that
So,
the big deal or something?
I read a little bit about this. That the Om Namo Narayanaya is called the Tirumantram. This Tirumantram, that is, it's written here in Tamil, Tirumandiram.
Oh, of course.
So, is chanted after morning, during morning hours, after bath, and during Tiruvaradhanam, which refers to the worship, Aradhanam. Tiruvaradhanam, Tiru is in Tamil is like Shri. So Tirumandiram means Shri mantra. So it is like respectable mantra, the great mantra. And so during Aradhana, during worship, so they chant that on their beads. But the mantra Om Namo Narayanaya can be chanted out aloud. But the Dvaya mantra is given by the spiritual master at the time of Samashrayam, and that should be chanted silently upon meditation, and one should contemplate that meaning. It is not meant to be chanted out loud in front of everybody. It is meant for contemplation. So, for us, everything is combined in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. We can chant it out loud, we contemplate on its meaning, everything. Whereas they chant the name of the Supreme Lord as Om Namo Narayanaya, and then they contemplate upon they chant the Dvaya mantra and contemplate upon it. And then they also chant the Charama Shloka. Well, they don't chant it really, but it's found in their mantra, the host of the primary mantras, and that is Sarva Dharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshayishyami Ma Suchaha.
So we could say that Om Namo Narayana is actually like for us them like chanting Hare Krishna out loud, because that's a mantra that Ramanujacharya gave to everyone, right? And then the Dvaya mantras are like the Gayatri mantras that you chant in your mind.
No.
Everything
is the Hare Krishna mantra.
I see. No, from their perspective is
even
what I'm asking.
No.
Okay.
Gayatri is different.
Okay.
Because it's not like, now we chanted this, it's not like, women should not hear it, or so. The Gayatri is different.
So Prabhu was just making this point about Pankajanamba Prabhu, how everyone has like a special perspective on their service. And you're mentioning that seminar by Sureshwar Prabhu about backwards, going backwards to go forwards. And I like that little story he shared about Jayadvaita Maharaj.
Yeah.
Where Maharaj was giving this class in, I think it was Mayapur or Vrindavan. And there was a tractor going by.
Yeah.
And it was so loud.
Yeah.
And he kept interrupting the class. Then Maharaj eventually came to the devotee who was riding the tractor, who was the head of the Goshala. And Maharaj went like this. He got off the tractor, and the devotee apologized. And Maharaj said, you're here in Mayapur. We're supposed to be demonstrating cow protection. Why are you riding this tractor? And he got off of the tractor and respectfully told Maharaj that, no one in the Gurukul will help me. These boys come here, but they're interested in city life.
Priests, they all want to become priests. They all want to become brahmanas, because these Bengalis, even if they were doing it in the past, whatever, but they think it's backward, and we want to progress. We want to be a brahmana. We want to do arati, puja, and this and that. But we don't want. We don't want to. We don't want to just train bulls and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It was sad to hear that story.
Yeah. Indians have that mentality a lot, actually, unfortunately. Especially Indians.
To revive that culture. I also had a question. I mean, you were explaining this about the Gayatri Mantra, how it's actually a meditation on Lord Ramachandra, and how some followers of the Vedas, they think it's meditation on the sun god. There are several statements where Srila Prabhupada says that it is meditation on the sun god. So I don't know, like, what is more favorable, like Lord Ramachandra, or I don't know if you have a
So,
comment on that.
The sun god is Surya Narayana. His expansion, and he infuses his energy into the Adityas, who are also sun gods. Those Adityas are living entities. Surya Narayana himself is a form of the Supreme Lord who is ultimately found within the sun and is really the principal source of the sun's wonderful energy and potency. It is to that Surya Narayana that the Gayatri Mantra is chanted to. However, as Acharyas will explain later, that this Surya Narayana is but an expansion of ultimately the Supreme Lord Krishna. And therefore, devotees, while meditating upon this, eventually, all those attributes that are found in Surya Narayana are found in Krishna himself, or Lord Ramachandra. So, what is this? No. Well, that's in Brahma Samhita. No, this is from the Yajurveda. Narayana Sarasi Janana Sannivishtaha. So, Namasavitre Jagadega Chakshushe Jagat Prasuti Sthitinasha Hetave. So, Jagadega Chakshushe, that this that the sun is the eye of the universe. This is described in Brahma Samhita also, and also appears in Bhagavad Gita in the universal form. Sun and moon are the eyes. So Jagadega Chakshushe, Jagat Prasuti, it is literally the glory of the universe. Jagat Prasuti Sthitinasha Hetave removes ignorance and like this. Virinchi Narayana Shankaratmane. So also it is said, okay, there it said Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Virinchi Narayana Shankaratmane. Deda Sada Savitra Mandala Madhyavarti, in the middle of the sun planet. Madhyavarti, Sarasi Janana Sannivishtaha. Someone is situated. Who is that situated? Keyuravan Makarakundalavan. This is the one with fish-shaped earrings. Kiritihari, he has a brilliant crown. Hiranmaya Shanka Chakra Gadapane. Then it says, Dwaraka Nilaya Achyuta. That personality who is in Dwaraka with holding a conch and a discus and gada and lotus flower. The Dwaraka Nilaya Achyuta. Govindam Pundari Kaksham Rakshamam Sharanagatam. This is all in the Yajurveda. You know that I surrender unto that Supreme Personality of Godhead, that Narayana, he is situated in the middle of the sun planet. That Narayana is the same person who holds the four weapons, not weapons, but the four insignias of conch, discus, mace, and lotus flower, who is situated in, who has fish-shaped earrings, who is situated in Dwaraka, who is known as Achyuta Pundarikaksha. To that personality, Sharanagatam, I surrender unto him. You see that in the Ramayana, don't you know? We don't see that. So, the point is this, that yes, sun god, yes. Who is that sun god? Ultimately, the sun's potency comes from Surya Narayana. That Narayana is situated there is just an expansion. That Narayana in the middle of the sun planet is the source of all that potency that the sun god has, Aditya, Vivaswan. He is getting all his potency by the Narayana who is there, who he is worshipping in the middle of the sun planet. Yeah. I mean, my father chants. He chants this every day. Every day, thrice a day, he is chanting what I just chanted. And no contemplation, nothing. Absolutely zero realization. Next verse, Akashat patitam toyam yata gacchati sagaram sarvadeva namaskara Shri Keshavam prati gacchati. Just as water that falls from the sky eventually finds its way to the ocean, similarly, all worship that is offered to all the demigods eventually goes to Sri Keshava. He doesn't accept it. So this is what I was referring to as the Gayatri Mantra, that those followers of the Vedas, they don't understand this. He's going kind of overtime here. Oh, yeah. That is the last session, I guess. Yeah.
Hare Krishna. So we can see all these important concepts and this whole idea of surrender, and even the Gayatri Mantra, as you were saying, are all found in the Ramayana. But we find that there's not so much emphasis, at least in ISKCON and in our society, so much on the Ramayana. It's more Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. Is it because, like you were mentioning early on, that the Ramayana is more of an indirect text is why it's not so much exemplified and so much pushed forward, and these other ones like Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, because they're more direct? Is that why they're more prevalent, or is there like a different reason?
Well, the Srimad Bhagavatam reveals what is not found in any other scripture, any other text, which is the conjugal love between the Supreme Lord and the gopis of Vrindavan. That the, what is that verse by Prabodhananda Saraswati? Aradhya Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam Ramya Kvachit Upasana Vrajavadu Vargenaya Kalpita Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishnavanam Priyam Yasmin Paramahamsyam Ekam Amalam. Anyways, I think I'm mixing something up. But the last line, it comes about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The last line, I'm mixing it up completely. The last line, I don't know. So, this verse describes that ultimately the supreme form of the Lord is Vrindavan Krishna, Rajendra Nandana Krishna. The Lord of the gopis, Kunja Bihari, Gopijana Vallabha. That is not found in any other text except the Srimad Bhagavatam. Our main text is Srimad Bhagavatam. It is Bhagavad Gita. Everything is contained in the Bhagavad Gita, but our actual main text is Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our real main text. You will see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he discussed primarily Srimad Bhagavatam. We discuss Bhagavad Gita also from the standpoint of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is in that mood. I mean, Bhagavad Gita is described by other acharyas also in other sampradayas, but we don't discuss Bhagavad Gita in that way. Our commentary of Bhagavad Gita is specifically based on Srimad Bhagavatam. Our primary pramanam, Purana pramanam amalam, is Bhagavatam. Even now, our discussion of the Ramayana, see, if you can discuss Bhagavad Gita in the same, in the light of the Bhagavatam's teachings, you can discuss any text of the Vedas in the light of the Bhagavatam's teachings. And in that sense, we read Mahabharata, we read Ramayana, we read all this just for us to understand what is stated in the Bhagavatam, or to further, glorify the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is our mood. Chaitanya Charitamrita also, entire sections of the Bhagavatam gets reproduced and described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, we speak of how the Bhagavad Gita is first and then progression to Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's all there. But the Bhagavatam is the one text that presents and contains everything. That's the answer. Okay, anything from the Matajis? Yes.
Hi, Krishna. Is it on? Okay. I was trying to find the direct quote, but I remember reading in the 10th canto that I don't know if it was a verse or a purport, but basically the point was made that, Krishna puts his devotees into difficulties to glorify them because we see their behavior in the midst of their circumstances. Do you know what exactly I could be referencing, or could you even just speak on that?
I don't remember the references directly. What you're saying is true. Huh? Yasyaham anugrihnami harishe tad dhanam shanaihi. 10? 1088.8. Okay. Anything else? All right, okay. Thank you very much. Shri Valmiki Ramayan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Harinam will happen today? No Harinam today because Vasu Ghosh Prabhu called. Oh. He didn't call me. Okay. He must have called you. What did he say?
I asked him a couple questions about the reception and about the
When will they arrive?
Huh?
When are they expected to arrive?
It all depends on when Prabhu finishes breakfast.
Oh, they haven't left yet.
Because this devotee is going to serve breakfast at around 9:15. Now he's going to take breakfast with him.
Depending on that, we may have to adjust lunch, huh? Because if they're arriving 4:30, that's too late for lunch. Then lunch should be taken by 3 o'clock, huh?
It definitely won't be that late. I think they should be breakfast today.
Anyways, you've driven many times. So probably.